right, top of the Sunday morning, everybody. Welcome to The Sweat, part of the 5-hour block here on DraftKings Network and VSiN we call the Pre-Game Power-Up. All right, I'm Emerson Latzia, Josh Applebaum on the far side. Why are you not wearing a flannel today?
So, to be honest with you, Emerson, during the holiday Thanksgiving dinner, my dad said, hey, how's work going? And he said, I look at some of your videos, you got to stop wearing flannel. I would never take any betting advice from anyone who wears flannel. So, Emerson, from now on, you're going to see me in kind of a more, upscale attire moving forward.
Great, good. I haven't listened to a single word you've said all season because you've been wearing a flannel. So thank God your dad was brave enough to speak up. And Steve Buchanan, by the way, happy birthday, big man.
Whoa, happy birthday.
It is damn good to have you here.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm back like CM Punk and happy to be here.
Oh, all right. Well, here's what we're talking about for the next 2 hours, everybody. We are all NFL. NFL high or low, which lines don't make sense, question mark. Battle for the bottom. Draft order at stake in New Jersey. Yeah. You're not going to want to watch that game between the Patriots and the Giants.
Why would anybody want to watch that game?
Oh, God.
They're steamed to the Patriots. Can you believe that? They're up to 4.5.
Holy hell, man. All right, NFL leftovers as well. So there's some storylines we still have to touch on that went down over the past couple days, including Tom Brady calling out the league for its mediocrity right now. Oh, and speaking of that, let's go ahead and start with the Saints and the Falcons as we dive into this Week 12 slate, man. So this is a big game in a division, Steve, with one team that has a 500 record right now. Which side do you fall on in this one?
I mean, it's really hard to get a sense of which team I like on this one. I do like the under in this one, though, of under 41.5. I mean, these are two teams that just do not hit the over well. I mean, they combined 7-13 to the over so far this season. We got Desmond Ridder back at quarterback. That probably means some more running for Atlanta, but that's going to be tough. The Saints have been very good against the run, allowing 80 yards per game, 3.8 yards per carry so far this season. And then you have the Falcons, who have been very, very strong against opposing quarterbacks. Their secondary has been great. Probably going to see some shadow coverage there on Chris Olave by A.J. Terrell. So that leaves you like Raheed Shaheed. I think it's A.T. Perry as your wide receiver 3. This is probably just going to be a gross game here. So give me under 41.5 for this one.
All right, Josh, is there a bet that stands out to you in this game?
So I didn't really take much of the week, Emerson, but I have noticed a late move toward the Saints here. Now, that coincides with, obviously, the news that Derek Carr is going to start at quarterback. He cleared the concussion protocol, and we did see the line adjust pretty good here toward New Orleans. This was a game that was, pretty much a pick'em game all week. It crept up a little bit to like Saints -1. Now that Carr is expected to go, you're up to -2. Couple books, maybe even inching toward 2.5. So I'll lean a little bit on this late steam toward New Orleans. Saints are getting right now 67% of bets. We have seen these road favorites off a bye do very well historically. Since about 15 years or so, they're 64% against the spread. So you have that late steam toward the Saints. You have the favorite off a bye. And also mention Emerson, I think now is the time to bet the Saints to win this division if you haven't already taken a look here.
Okay.
The current odds right now, I mean, the Bucks are plus 340. Panthers have no shot. Falcons have the second best odds at plus 290. But the Saints are minus 150. And their schedule, it's not that hard down the stretch. There's a lot of winnable games. Their current win total is adjusted 9.5. Falcons are 7.5. I think that minus 150, even though you want to get a plus money number, you don't love laying the minus number there. I think right now is the time to play them today on the money line and then also look at them to win this division, minus 150.
I mean, 3 teams are in it right now in terms of this division race. And going back to your point, Steve, on the under between these two teams, the under 13-7 this season. So not a bad lean by you. Steelers, Bengals here, guys. Bengals without Joe Burrow will no question be a different team. Jake Browning will start, but we really have no real idea what he can do. So, Josh, how does that impact your approach to betting this game?
I like the Steelers today, Emerson. This is a money line play for me. We've seen a big adjustment here. Obviously, the biggest reason for that is Joe Burrow's been now diagnosed out for the year. But the look-ahead line of this game with a healthy Burrow was like Cincy minus 5.5. Now we flipped all the way to Pittsburgh Steelers minus 2.5. So that kind of speaks to the value of the starting quarterback. I think a lot of bettors kind of overvalue injuries and line moves to like other position players, but obviously it's a starting pitcher baseball, the goalie hockey, the QB in the NFL. So this game was like Pittsburgh minus 1.5 just 48 hours ago. Now you're up to -2, -2.5. And one thing that I really like in this spot, aside from the dog to fave line move toward the Steelers, is Mike Tomlin. Now, Mike Tomlin in the betting sphere is always Tomlin as a dog. He covers a lot of numbers. But Tomlin also is a really good motivator after a loss. After a loss, Tomlin is 54-39 against the spread, 58%. He's 3-0 ATS after a loss this year. Again, we did see the Bills, when they fired their OC, they played pretty well offensively the next game. So do they get a boost getting rid of Canada on this one? I'm going to fade Browning. He's a 27-year-old rookie. Just don't expect much from him. And the Steelers right now, 6-4, over 9.5 wins. I lean a little bit over there, Emerson. You play the Bengals twice. Then you play the Cardinals, the Patriots, the Colts. I think this could be a 10-win team. I like them today on the money line and give me the over 9.5 win total.
And Bukes, we all know Steelers firing offensive coordinator Matt Canada this week.
Yep.
Maybe that livens up the offense a little bit.
Well, that's why I like a prop in this game. I like Jalen Warren to go over 49.5 rushing yards. You look at what he's done over the past 3 weeks.
Beast, bro.
Completely unsustainable.
Yeah.
Let's just get that in the clear. But 9.1 yards per carry, 318 rushing yards on 35 carries. Now, you can't expect that type of production from him week after week. But the Bengals have been pretty successful to the run there. 92 rushing yards per game, 4.5 yards per carry. And with Matt Canada out of the mix, are we going to see Warren kind of overtake that RB1 role? Because it's really been a down-the-middle split between Harris and Warren in these past few games here, but Warren has by far been the most productive back so far. I mean, just looking at the numbers that I just gave you there. So this feels like a pretty low total for somebody who's been absolutely crushing it on the ground over the past 3 weeks or so. So give me Warren over 49.5 rushing yards. I think it's a good prop there. But just to add to, I do like Josh's analysis. I would be taking the Steelers in this game as well.
Ryan Finley led the Bengals to an improbable Monday Night Football upset against Pittsburgh in 2020. We'll see if Browning can match that magic, baby. Jags Texans, this is for first place in the division. Am I going to enjoy your bet, Josh?
You're probably not going to enjoy it, Emerson. Although, again, your Jags have proved me wrong before, and you're the number one Jags fan in the world. This is a tight game for you, Emerson. They're only laying 1 on the road, but the line is going back toward the Houston Texans here. I like the Texans in this spot. Now, we opened around -1.5 with Jacksonville. At one point this week, they got up to -2.5. Around 60% of bets are going the Jags here. And again, they've won, 6-7. They're playing really well. But this line is falling late to the Houston Texans, and I really respect late action as limits are raised and big bets come in. When I left this morning to drive to the studio, it was 1.5, Emerson. We're down to 1. There's a couple really sharp sports books in Vegas who got down to a pick 'em. So all this late movement is going toward the Texans. So if you want to play them on the money line, you kind of miss the 1.5. You're kind of missing a teaser play at this point. But CJ Stroud, 5-1 ATS as a dog. And if you look at also the total in this one, it's risen. It's 45 up to 48. Could be a high-scoring game. Both these teams are top 10 in terms of pace. And a little prop bet for you. I like Stroud to go over 1.5 touchdowns passing. He's gone for two or more in 6 of his last 9 games.
All right, so the Jags have just been owned by the Texans in recent years here, Steve. The Texans have won 10 of 11. Also, that includes blowing them out in Jacksonville earlier this year. But Trevor Lawrence got back on track last week. I know that was against a lowly Titans team here. Does that continue today on the road in Houston?
I think both teams are going to be going up and down the field in this one. So I like the over in this one at over 48. This is the second highest total on the slate. Currently, right now, the highest total is that Bills-Eagles game that we're going to get this afternoon at 48.5. But I do like the over in this game. Like you mentioned, Trevor Lawrence getting back on track. He desperately needed a game like that there. Like, his numbers across the board have been pretty pedestrian overall, but love what the Houston team's got going as well. Jacksonville has a pretty decent secondary, but there's so many options for Houston right now. I know that Noah Brown is going to be out in this game, but you still have Nico Collins, you still have Robert Woods, and Dalton Schultz has been an unbelievable part of this offense, probably something that nobody even realized was going to be happening, but he's been a legit threat. I think he has over 200 receiving yards in 2 of his last 3 weeks here. So I just think we've got 2 teams going up and down the field in this game too. I would like to see Travis Etienne get more involved. I know it's been kind of back-to-back blowouts for the Jags, one on the winning side and the losing side. He's really been a non-factor, but with a close game like this, I think he gets more involved here too as well, especially catching out of the backfield. But give me over 48 for this game.
Yeah, I think there's been some reports out of Jacksonville. They would prefer to keep him fresh towards the end of the season and entering the playoffs and stuff, which is why it was so important to get Trevor Lawrence wrapped up there. Bukes, Bucks, Colts here, second straight road game for the Buccaneers. Indy was on bye in Week 11, and that rest seems to have them in a favorable view of bettors.
This is my favorite bet of the day. I love the Bucks at plus 2.5 here today. They have absolutely crushed as an underdog this season. They're 5-2 ATS as an underdog coming into this game. Colts have really banged up in that secondary. They have some decent numbers there, but Mayfield has been fantastic through the air so far this year. Over the last 5 weeks, if you look at the teams that he's played the 49ers, the Titans, the Texans, the Bills, and the Falcons. Pretty good secondaries across the board amongst those teams. He's still averaging 260 passing yards with an 8-3 touchdown to interception ratio. Then you have Gardner Minshew, who's been pretty poor lately. This is very typical of Gardner Minshew. Comes out of the gates hot. First couple games he starts playing, looks fantastic. Then he starts getting into a groove, you would think, and then that's when the play starts to come back down to earth here. He's struggling to cross over 200 passing yards in these games over the last 3 weeks here. Bucks have been great against the run, so if that kind of eliminates Jonathan Taylor, then where are the Colts going to score here? So give me the Bucks at plus 2.5 here today.
Josh, I know the Panthers might be the worst team in the NFL, but who are the Titans to be 3.5-point favorites over anybody?
Yeah, Tom Brady can't wait to watch this one, Emerson.
Yeah.
Two great teams going head-to-head, but man, this is so disgusting, but I take Carolina in this one. It's kind of lesser of two evils play. Public's on the Titans. Titans have, they've been deep in the playoffs the last few years. They're kind of the bigger name recognition team. Obviously, Panthers have really struggled with a bad record, but I don't really believe in the Titans either. And what is the betting market doing? It's moving toward the Panthers. This game opened Tennessee minus 4.5. You're down to 3.5, even though 3 out of 4 bets here are going with the Titans. So public Titans, line going to Panthers. I'll take the 3.5 and just, pray that they keep it close.
Yeah, 2 rookie passers behind 2 terrible offensive lines. Not necessarily the case when the Bills and the Eagles clash today. Which offense will be flying high in Philly? We'll grab Julian's best bets next. after just mashing leftovers for days, it's now time to get back with the fresh stuff, which is why Julian Edlow has returned.
I've been working so hard, I haven't even changed since yesterday's show.
It is crazy, dude, but you smell good, like gravy. Like meat and cheese. All right, we need to grab some best bets and predictions from you for today's NFL slate. Let's start in the division of the working man, shall we? First place in the AFC South is up for grabs when the Jags hit the road to face Houston. We know the Texans destroyed them in Jacksonville earlier this season. Trevor Lawrence just 1-4 against the Texans as a starter in Jacksonville. But Jacksonville's Lord and Savior got a little revved up last week. I know you love seeing him combined for 4 touchdowns. Julian, what's the play today in this one?
Well, per usual, we'll have our regular debate on the show here where you talk about your Jags and tell me why they're so good. And
I'm sorry, my bets with the Jags
way.
have been hitting consistently, and you have looked like a fool on here betting against them. But go ahead.
So I'm going to bet against the Jags. Houston getting the 1.5 or short money line, home dog. That's where I'll go here. I think that if you wanted to isolate the Houston side, if you didn't feel as comfortable about fading Jacksonville, which is fine, I think that going to Houston's team total would also be fine, because what does C.J. Stroud have this offense doing week after week?
It's scary.
With Tank Dell, Nico Collins, Noah Brown, all these guys, Dalton Schultz, putting up big numbers, and Jacksonville can be had through the air. We know that. The passing yards, Houston is second in the league in passing yards. They average 277 a game, but you look over the last 3 weeks, 369 yards per week through the air for this Houston offense. And you go look at Jacksonville, where are they? They rank 29th in the NFL in terms of passing yards allowed, and this is going to be indoors in Houston.
Okay.
So whichever way you want to back it, playing Houston to win it, or maybe the more comfortable play of backing Houston on the team total to put up points, I think that they're going to give Jacksonville's defense a tough time.
Everyone watching knows how much I love the Jaguars. It's my hometown team, but I'm an unbiased journalist at the same time. I am kind of surprised to see the Texans as a home underdog here. When you consider, really, you could make a strong argument. They are the better team. Better point differential for the season, have a way more consistent offense here. I know the Jags offense came back to life last Sunday, Jules, but that was against a terrible Titans team. Would you almost consider maybe now would be a good time, if you truly believe in C.J. Stroud and the Texans, to maybe bet them to win the division? You get plus odds on it right now.
You read my mind there.
Oh!
You read my mind there. I'm looking at what it is right now, 235. So it was slightly better going into last week. Houston won again. Jacksonville won as a big favorite. But if there's one point in the season where this flips in a big way, it's this game that does it to the odds board. So if you think Houston has a chance, which they do, their season win total is set at 9.5 now. This is, will they or won't they be a 10-win team, which can certainly win this division and get a playoff spot out of the AFC South. I think plus 235 on Houston is good value, considering that this game is sitting at a pick'em, and if it goes Houston's way, they could be the favorite within a week or so.
Okay, so Jags are 3-0 ATS on the road this season. Patriots just haven't been good ATS. They haven't been good overall. They're laying 3.5 on the road against the lowly Giants. Why does this line feel suspicious? Don't be suspicious.
The line feels suspicious because obviously of the quarterback situation of the Patriots, and come kickoff, this could look completely different. But I'm gonna stay away from the side. It's a game coming out of the bye week with Bill Belichick going up against a Giants team that he loves to put his best foot forward against. It's a game that the Patriots should win, but I'm just going under with the points, 33.5. I talked about it on the show last weekend. I put it out in my Best Bets article a week early because I said we got to go under 35.5 here. This is going to drop like a rock, and it's already on its way down and should continue going down. You look at these teams. These are the last two teams in scoring in the NFL.
Yeah, but look at last week, man. Tommy DeVito, 3 touchdown passes. Like, don't sleep on Tommy DeVito, who still sleeps at his parents' house.
Yes, I think Tommy DeVito also smells like meat and cheese with all of the Italian food that his mother is cooking him at home.
It is true. Chicken cutlets is the meal, actually.
Yeah, so 31 points last week brought the Giants all the way up to dead last in the NFL in scoring per game, even with the 31 at 13.5. They were significantly lower before that.
Yeah.
And one of the most eye-popping numbers in the NFL right now, that game was obviously in Washington, so that was a road game. The New York Giants are averaging 6.8 points per game at home this season. That's like a good baseball team.
Yeah.
That's like what the Yankees average at home.
Yeah, I think you said last week on the show, or maybe Steve did, that the Texas Rangers would actually beat the Giants right now.
I was keeping it in New York,
Giants.
in the New York market with the Yankees, but they don't score at home. And now they're going to be going up against the Patriots defense that's rested, that has a couple weeks to prepare. I think Belichick will have the defense somewhat ready for DeVito and that offense. And then you have the Patriots, the second lowest scoring team in the NFL at 14.1 points per game. If you take them, obviously they had 6 in the Germany game. If you take them on the road, though, 11.6 points per game. They're even lower. I just don't see how this game gets going offensively.
Don't watch this game, people.
The way that you lose an under in this game is a kickoff return and a fumble return. Like, it's going to take 2 of those things combined for this to lose.
Okay.
I can't trust these offenses in any form, shape, fashion.
If Bill Belichick still has his fastball, which a lot of people argue that he does not, I cannot see Tommy DeVito having any success in this one. Let's go to a much sexier game, shall we? Arguably the game of the week. How much should the Bills like their matchup against the Eagles and their weak pass coverage?
Yeah, so this is a game where I was hoping the Eagles, not just because I bet on the Chiefs as my sweat-free bet last week, but I was hoping the Eagles would lose so that we could come back and bet them at home, -3, 3.5 in that range against Buffalo. Spot didn't present itself. I still lean with the Eagles to look good. Buffalo got the big win after making the move at offensive coordinator. But I think overall, with the way that things went on Monday night, the play is now looking at the over, which has ticked up throughout the week. Unders have been cashing all season long in the NFL, but
especially primetime.
Especially primetime, which this isn't.
It's not. I know that, but I'm just mentioning. I'm adding a point to your point.
Okay, you almost tricked me there, but your point has nothing to do with the segment, so I'll carry on with my analysis. Philly, 27.3 points per game. That's a top 5 offense. Buffalo, 7th in the NFL at 26.7 points per game, and they obviously scored 32 in the last game. Looked good since the move at offensive coordinator with Dorsey gone. Both of these teams give up big plays through the air. We should see Josh Allen and Jalen Hurts at their best in this one. So this is a game that should look like past years' NFL. You get 2 good quarterbacks, 2 guys that have been in MVP candidates over the past few seasons on the same field together against bad secondaries. We should see points.
Everyone's like, oh, as long as the Bills take care of the football, they should be able to keep this game close. But that is a tall order for the Bills, who are, let's see, 5th in the NFL in giveaways. And we all know that Josh Allen loves to throw interceptions when he shouldn't be throwing interceptions.
Yes.
2 NFC South teams will collide today. Saints visiting Atlanta, both coming off a bye. New Orleans has a little more stability, right, and consistency on offense compared to the Falcons. Who you taking here? What do you like here?
Saints maybe a little bit more consistency on offense despite the inconsistencies at quarterback, which things went a lot better when Jameis Winston got in the mix before the bye. I think a lot of people will stick with the sharp angle on the Falcons that they had preseason here. I'm not a part of that. I have New Orleans to win this division. I think New Orleans is the side here. What is going back to Desmond Ridder actually do for you if you're Atlanta? You're just going back and forth between 2 below average quarterbacks.
Unknowns at quarterback.
I don't think it's going to change much. I think Ridder will try to show that he deserves the job back and maybe make some mistakes. I trust New Orleans here in a game that is huge in the division.
Okay, unlike the Saints and Falcons, though, the Ravens are absolutely rolling. They have another AFC North title in sight because the competition in that division is really fading. Losing Mark Andrews, though, could be a huge blow to Baltimore against the Chargers. I don't know. What do you think?
Losing Andrews doesn't help the cause for the futures on Baltimore, but I have no belief in the Chargers, and they have no home field, so I don't care that you're going on the road. Baltimore has been off since the Thursday night game against the Bengals, so they have a long one to prepare for this one. Yes, a primetime Sunday night game. So I think Baltimore will be ready, and until Staley is no longer, running the show there, I can't believe that the Chargers are going to, have the right personnel, have the right play call to win these games. So I'm putting my faith in Baltimore, and being on the road doesn't matter when you're going to LA.
Their defense is one of the worst in the league with the Chargers. And then you consider the fact that they almost allowed nearly 400 yards of offense to the freaking Packers, for crying out loud.
Yeah, so when you get that dual attack of the way that the Ravens run and pass the ball, probably going to score a lot of points if you're Baltimore. Now you're trying to figure out how do the Chargers keep up.
And Baltimore, by the way, #1 in the AFC currently after the Chiefs just lost to the Eagles on Monday Night Football. So your betting advice, Jules, I'm not going to lie, it always has us riding high here and feeling good. And thank you for your input today. After a quick break, though, we're going to see which odds our guys think are too high, maybe some numbers that they believe are too low on the DK Sportsbook. We'll see you on the other side of this break.
introducing DraftKings Network's Sunday pregame power-up.
Yes, back here on the Sweat, part of the pregame power-up on DraftKings Network and VSiN. So following us will be the Lombardi line from 10 a.m. Eastern to high noon. And you have Brent Musburger's countdown to kickoff leading up to, you guessed it, kickoff at 1 o'clock. Josh is back and making his November 26, 2023 Sweat debut. Pierce Dietrich, DraftKings Network contributor, here for a healthy dose of high or low. And let's start with Eagles, Bills. Could be meaty, could be sexy, Pierce. So Eagles, with the win on Monday night against the Chiefs, right? They're riding high, they're feeling good. So are the Bills. They bounce back against those high-flying Jets, right? Market right now with the Bills' victory, kind of keeping it close. 3-point spread here, Josh. Is this spread too high or too low?
So I think it's important to take your opinion and then separate it and then look at what the betting market's doing. Because
Okay.
it feels
Help
low.
us out.
Just my personal opinion feels low, but my opinion doesn't matter. There are people far smarter than me, your wise guys around the world, the odds makers who set the lines, and I think they're saying it isn't too high in this one, Emerson, because what we've seen is this line has moved a little bit toward the Buffalo Bills. This game opened, Philly minus 3.5. We're down to 3. That's important because the public doesn't care. They're riding Jalen Hurts, and currently you're getting almost 75% of bets going Philadelphia. But if 2 out of 3 bets or 3 out of 4 bets are on Philly, why aren't they up to minus 4, minus 4.5? It's going the other way. It's falling toward the Buffalo Bills in this spot. That tells me the Bills are kind of a sharp play today. You missed the hook, but they're only getting 25% bets, almost half the money. Josh Allen in the spot. It's kind of rare that you get him as a dog. As a dog, he's 16-8 against the spread, 67%. Also, is it a letdown spot, Emerson? You have a huge win. You get your revenge from the Super Bowl. You beat the Chiefs. Now you got to come back, and is it a bit of a letdown? To me, that's what I think maybe you're leaning on if you're taking the points here. Buffalo's desperate. You do have the new offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
I'm going to take the points here. I'm going to go Bills plus 3. I think the line is probably right, even though at first glance it feels like it's an easy bet for the Eagles.
All right, Pierce Dietrich, Philly opening as a 3.5-point favorite. It has since dropped to just a field goal. Is that too high or too low in your eyes?
I would say too low based on the public sentiment, and Josh just talked about this. You look at these teams, you look at what the public sees, the Eagles coming off of a big game, everything is going right. And still, in recent memory, the Bills' struggles are in the back of the minds of the fans. That hasn't been completely erased. So when you look at the two teams, just really a quick surface glance, you say, all right, well, the Eagles are the better team, and they've been a lot better lately, so they should be favored by more points. But as you dig deeper, we get further away from the Bills' struggles. Now, one of the questions I do have with the Bills is the new offensive coordinator coming in. I'm not really excited. I don't think there's going to be a big transformation. Josh Allen still is who he is. Diggs hasn't really played well in some of the tougher games moving forward. I think I would be more happy to take the Eagles side here, and I'm glad to get 3 points.
All right, Pierce, we've also got some matchups with some ugly, nasty totals on the board. New England and the Giants, 34. Steelers, Bengals, that's at 36. Cleveland, Denver, a tick down now from 37 to 36.5 on the DK Sportsbook. Which one is most likely to go over, in your opinion?
I like the Denver-Cleveland game, and it may be the ugliest of the bunch, but ugly doesn't mean no points whatsoever. We could get points based on 3-and-outs, short fields, turnovers. Denver has been remarkable at turning the ball over in the last 3 games, 3 turnovers in each game. We know that Cleveland can apply a lot of pressure, and Russell Wilson, while he can get his team to victory and score a drive here or there, the majority of the game, it's a bit of a train wreck, and you don't want a train wreck against the Cleveland Browns. That could be turnovers, that could be points. So I think they're going to go over. I think we could get a defensive touchdown. Again, short fields. It'll be close. It'll be ugly. They're not going to consistently move the ball, but they will get enough points on the board to go over the over.
Josh, how about this stat? This is right up your alley, Mr.
Give it to me,
Analytics.
Emerson.
All right, totals of 37 or less are 19-4-1 to the under since 2020. Will this matchup be an exception there?
Ooh, so to me, I think it's important too to remember that, the way the public views totals is that if it's super low, bet the over. If it's super high, bet the under. But you don't want to go into a game with a preconceived notion, look at each game individually. And that stat you gave, Emerson, is fantastic. The one that I had written down was this year when the total is 38 or less, the under is 12-1. So that really just speaks to how great these unders have been this year. It also speaks to kind of that false, equivalency of just saying, hey, low, go over. No, these totals are set low for a reason. Also, if you look at when the total is 35 or less, the under's 2-0. Now, that's a small sample size, but again, it speaks to the fact that just because it's low, don't go over. The one that I'm going to lean on to maybe going over, even though I did kind of, lean under to begin with, would be the Patriots game. Now, when I'm looking at these totals here, I'm looking at, is there a point of buyback? Is there a point of resistance? Is there, when you see a line move, in one direction, where does it kind of meet a wall and then start to go the other way? It looks like with this Patriots game, and Julian mentioned, he got a good number in the last segment, 35.5 under. He got it early, but it got down to 33. Now we're starting to see this total 33.5, 34. So that tells me that just because it's low, it's not continuing to plummet. It's, going up a little bit here. The Giants just hung 31 on the Commanders. Patriots, we'll get to this game later. I can't believe there's this late steam to New England. New England's back up to like -4, 4.5. But it's going to be pretty good weather. Nothing in the way of wind or anything to get Steve a little bit nervous about this one. So I think maybe in the Meadowlands at a buy low over. Of all these under, to me, it's like under or nothing, Emerson. But if you're making me take an over, I'd probably maybe buy back on that deflated Patriots over.
I mean, there's Tommy DeVito there. That magic last week. Then you get to go home to a home-cooked meal.
Nothing better, Emerson.
Mom and Dad's house. 2 matchups for the top spot in the Southern divisions here, guys. Saints now 2-point favorites on the road against the Falcons. Jags now up to a 2-point favorite as well on the road in Houston here. Are these close spreads too low, Josh?
So they're probably the way they then again, this is, your opinion versus the odds makers. They feel low, for sure. But I think it speaks to kind of these tight games and maybe kind of an opportunity, especially in divisional matchups, to take divisional dogs. Like,
Jags
for example,
back to a 1-point favorite now. It's just going all over.
You're feeling better now. It's going back to the Jags. I know that,
baby.
Emerson. A little late steam toward your team here. But I think they seem low, but I think if you want to protect yourself, if you're a little nervous, these are teaser plays right now. I mean, when we walked in to the studio, Emerson, 1 going up to 7 with Houston, you don't want to kind of push on that. If you can get to 1.5 and go to 7.5, boom, you're going through key numbers, and you don't have to worry about a push being a loss. So it feels low, but I think in any regard, I'd still lean toward kind of and again, if it's fishy, there's a reason for it. Why is it so low? That tells me that maybe there's a lot of respect for Houston. Tease them up. I think that's the way to attack the Texans.
Which one of these are too low, in your opinion, Pierce?
I suppose it is the Houston side. I guess I'm a sucker, just like the public. We've all fallen in love with C.J. Stroud and these receivers. And, I'm buying in. I know I bought in before. I don't want to sit here and do a victory lap saying I was the first root for Houston, but boy, they look really good. And I know Jacksonville's a little bit of last year's team. They're still pretty good as well. But I'm with the public and loving Houston at the moment. And so maybe it is a little bit too low right there.
Okay, and then there's the Chiefs, guys. Everyone's like, reigning Super Bowl champions, this offensive juggernaut. Well, maybe not so much, especially in the second half. So they're dead last in the NFL. Under 5.5 points a game they average in the second half of games.
Yeah, this has been unbelievable.
This is disgusting. Like their second half total against the Raiders today, 13.5, Josh. They haven't scored any points in the second half in the last 3 games. A donut. You know about donuts. You bring them in all the time. 13.5 feels way too high here for a second half team total.
So I do agree with you on this one. And are we starting to see the effects of Eric Bieniemy? Obviously you have a great quarterback. You have Andy Reid. But Bieniemy is a guy who, again, he didn't get a ton of credit because it's like, if you have Reid and Mahomes, what's the big deal? You don't even need an offensive coordinator. But, making adjustments, to me, that's what the second half is all about. It's also a situation of, are you up big and you're not as motivated, or you don't need to score, you want to run out the clock? That's something to keep an eye on. At some point, it's hard for me to believe that Patrick Mahomes and this offense isn't going to start to put up points in the second half. But look what they did against the Eagles. They had that game in control. They're up, 17-7, flying high, looking good. And then you have a turnover. You don't do anything offensive production-wise. The game overall in this one, Emerson, it was 44.5. It's down to 43.5. Only 42% bets, but 70% money is on this under. And unders that fall at least a half point are 63% this year. So it feels high. And again, I am going to lean under in this one, even though I feel like at some point they got to start generating second half offense.
13.5 for a second half team total. Pierce, too high, too low?
My initial thought is we look at these statistics of how many points they average in the second half, and I wanted to dismiss that out of hand because it's an average and it takes away a lot of the context and situations that happen in the second half. But we have enough data that maybe there is a little something here to this, that this team is struggling offensively. But that being said, we do this every year with the Kansas City Chiefs. We get to about this point in the season and we have a freak out about why aren't they beating teams by 20 points? Why aren't they destroying their opponents? And then by the time the playoffs roll around, all is well in Kansas City. Will they turn it around this week? Will it be next week? It's going to happen soon. I have no problem thinking that they're going to put some points on the board against the Raiders this week. I think this is where they start to snap out of it. Last week was a tough game.
All right, Pierce Dietrich, I need you to hang out. We're going to bring in your best friend, Jeff Ulrich, next. We'll look at some props on the board, see if you're going over or under them. You mentioned some offensive struggles. Yeah, look no further than Pittsburgh. Can a new Steelers offensive coordinator, though, give us some hope in the over department? right, time now to look at some props available on the DK Sportsbook for today's NFL action. Jeff Ulrich, Pierce Dietrich, show your beautiful faces, please, because I have questions. You two will hopefully have answers. Yes, peekaboo, great, love it. Broncos have won 4 straight here, guys, right? Russell Wilson, 3rd in the league in passer rating, yet you might not be able to guess that by taking a gander at some of these props on the board. Wilson, 204.5 is his total. None of his receivers have totals north of 50 yards, Jeff Ulrich. What's a prop in this game that you could talk yourself into?
I don't even need to talk myself into this one. This is one of the first props I looked for this week. It's Javonte Williams over on yards, 55.5. This one opened around 52.5. It's up to 55. I'd still bet it. This game just screams Javonte Williams 20 carries. I mean, you've got a weaker offense on the other side. Denver's probably not going to get behind. We're going to have a close game. We got a close point spread. It's hovered between 2 points all week. What do the Broncos want to do? When they want to get a small lead and then jam Javonte Williams into the line 20 plus times. They're actually a pretty good run team too. I think Williams probably goes over here. You can run on Cleveland, as Pittsburgh showed us last week. As you said, stay away from the passing props this week. There's not going to be much passing in this game. Javonte Williams should get a ton of work though. I like his over.
188.5 Russell Wilson's passing yards prop right now, Pierce.
Yeah, let's go there. Don't stay away from the passing prop. Well, stay away from going on the overside of the passing props, but load up on going below Russell Wilson.
Clear that up.
Passing props. 6 times this season, he's gone under 200 yards. And then you look at when he faced really good defenses, which he'll be facing today, New York, Buffalo, Kansas City, he threw for less than 150 yards. I mean, those are high school stats. So I will gladly take the under on Russell Wilson's passing prop.
All right, guys. How about another quarterback prop? Pierce, you just mentioned Russell Wilson. Give me another quarterback prop that you like. Some people thinking maybe a little over on Kenny Pickett's passing yard. Now he's got a new offensive coordinator. What do you think?
We might talk about Pickett here in a second.
Okay.
But speaking of picks, I love going to Patrick Mahomes interception props every season. It pays out pretty well. You had 2021, 13 interceptions, 2022, 12 interceptions, 9 interceptions this season so far. He's only had 2 clean sheets this year. He throws a pick in every single game. He's facing the Raiders, who have 10 interceptions on the season. That ranks inside the top 10. We mentioned earlier in the program, Kansas City is struggling. They haven't quite righted the ship, but even when they are playing well, Mahomes is a gunslinger. He throws interceptions, so take the Mahomes INT prop.
All right, Jeff Ulrich, any chance you want to look at America's team, the Jags, Houston Texans? Could be an absolute shootout there in the Lone Star State, baby.
I mean, it could be a one-sided shootout. Houston probably just going to blow them out as per usual. But I'm going to go to the Bills-Eagles game. And look, Josh Allen over? Yeah, we'll take it in this spot. Bills' offense was a lot more efficient their last time out without Ken Dorsey. I'm surprised at his total, that Josh Allen's total still is hovering in the low 260s in this spot. I know that the Eagles had a good game against Mahomes, but as we just documented, like, his receivers drop every single ball. Don't forget, he had like a 60-yard touchdown dropped in that game. The Eagles are not good in coverage. The Bills are going to come out and throw the ball because you can't run on Philly anyways. Again, a close point spread here. I think Josh Allen goes over this number today. I think he has a pretty big offensive day. Again, most quarterbacks against Philly, when the game has been close, have gone well over their numbers. Been a couple instances that they haven't, but I think Allen probably continues that trend of big games against the Eagles. I like the over on him.
Mr. INT, over, so to throw a pick, minus 166 are the odds. If it's the rarity of not throwing a pick, Jeff Ulrich, plus 130.
I mean, it could happen. I would rather do it Pierce did and go to the bigger juice and take the over on Mahomes interceptions. That's where you have to look at. Josh Allen's props are now juiced so the way all the way down to take an interception on him, that you're better to look at these higher end quarterbacks who, the market hasn't caught up to yet. Mahomes has thrown a pick almost at the same rate as Allen this year, but his odds are much better to take the over.
All right, guys, let's go to the running back props department here. Your favorite running back prop on the board, Pierce Dietrich. I'm seeing Jonathan Taylor up to around 80.5, has only hit that mark once this year.
Well, he's been in a limited amount of games and he hasn't gotten a lot of carries until his most recent performance. But where I'll go is Jalen Warren. Pittsburgh got rid of Matt Canada, Kenny Pickett. Not the answer. They're going to lean on the run. Their new offensive coordinator was formerly their running backs coach. Facing the Bengals, who ranked 29th in rush DVOA. Bengals offense. We all know that Joe Burrow's out. T. Higgins is out. They're probably not going to move the ball. It's going to mean more possessions for Pittsburgh. And if Pittsburgh's smart in their new era, they should probably just lean on the run and eke out the games that they can and squeeze their way into the playoffs. Take the over on Warren's rushing prop.
Yeah, I mean, Bengals allow the second worst yards per carry in the NFL. That's 5 yards per carry. For some reason, odds makers don't seem to be showing him the respect he deserves there, Pierce. Jeff Ulrich, who else are you looking at?
How about a little touchdown prop? How about a Derrick Henry anytime touchdown plus 115? I mean, they're playing the Panthers. The Panthers have allowed 13 rushing touchdowns to opposing running backs this year. It's the most in the league. So you've got potentially the worst rush defense in the league, one of them. You've got the Titans here favored by 3.5 to 4 points. Every game that the Titans have won this year, Derrick Henry has gone for 20 or more carries. He scored in 2 of those 3 games as well. But I mean, you give Derrick Henry 20 plus touches in a game, he's probably going to find the end zone. And I think realistically, whenever you get the Titans favored and you're getting Derrick Henry at plus money to score, is a good chance he's probably going to pay off for you, especially against, like I said, the worst rush defense in the league. So Tennessee has been, all over the place. I know their O-line sucks. I'm not oblivious to that, but this is Carolina we're talking about. I just don't know if Carolina can do anything about it. I think Derrick Henry's probably going to have a decent day. And like I said, we're getting plus 115. We're not getting like minus 120, minus 140, plus 115. I think it's worth taking a shot with a Henry touchdown.
All right, let's go to the wide receivers here, guys. Cooper Kupp, so 5-1 to the under this year on his receiving prop. It's going to play today. It's going to be a little banged up. So maybe you like the trend of his unders continuing here, Pierce. If you're not going there, what is your favorite wide receiver prop?
I'm going to cheat a little bit, and I'm moving over to Monday Night Football, but this bet's too good to pass up and not mention. DJ Moore, over 58.5 receiving yards. With Bayesian, the backup, he was getting 58 receiving yards per game. You get Fields back last week, and boom, Moore goes for nearly 100 receiving yards. Don't forget, earlier this season, when Moore and Fields were playing together, he had 230 yards, 130 yards, 100 receiving yards. 58.5 looks like the book has forgotten who the quarterback is going to be. So I love Moore to go over. I also like taking a chance on Fields' rushing prop on Monday Night Football as well.
All right, we'll dish out some primetime picks. More of them coming up in this show with Josh and Steve. Jeff, your wide receiver prop du jour, please.
I'm going to go George Pickens from the Steelers game. I mean, again, let's stick with this. Let's attack the Bengals because the Bengals defense has been terrible. Cam Britt-Taylor is also out for them, their top corner. They've already given up the third most explosive plays in the passing game this year, of plays of 20 plus yards or more. Pickens' prop is 43.5. I know he's been really inconsistent. He's had some terrible days. He's also gone for over 100 yards 3 times this year. The guy is still a walking big play machine. No Matt Canada to just kind of hold back and give the ball to Najee Harris anymore. Be pretty surprised if Pickens doesn't have a decent day. I like the over on the 43.5 for sure.
Yeah, maybe if we're looking at his longest reception over 20.5 yards, because through 10 games this season, Bengals have allowed a wide receiver a reception of 21 or more yards on 20 different occasions. You nailed it. That their defense, especially that secondary, less than ideal. Okay, Jeff, I'll start with you on this one. Alternate lines. Who's hitting 100 receiving or rushing yards today, dude?
Let's go with Rashid Shaheed of the New Orleans Saints. I mean, Michael Thomas is out. This is the chance we've all been waiting for. Shaheed is one of the most explosive wide receivers in the game. He's been playing like 25 to 30 snaps because there's no reason, just because the Saints are just the Saints, I guess. But now they should be forced into playing Shaheed like almost every snap because Michael Thomas is out. You can go to the alternate lines on DraftKings. You can get 60 plus yards for Shaheed at 260 plus 265. You can get 80 plus yards at plus 650. I think this guy is one of the most underused weapons in the NFL. And at those odds, I think he can go all the way up to 90 even, 90 plus yards, which is plus 1,000 on DraftKings as well. I think he's going to have a big day.
Pierce, what do you got?
Josh mentioned in the last segment that the Patriots are picking up some steam in the betting markets, which means we're probably going to have a positive game script for the Patriots, and that plays well for Ramondre Stevenson to go over 100 rushing yards. You look at his last game in Week 10, 20 rushes. I'll definitely take 20 rushes. And, he had 88 yards, 87 yards before that. So he's trending in the right direction. And again, 20 rushes against the Giants, who have one of the worst rush defenses in the NFL. I will gladly take that situation with Ramondre coming off the bye. So I take Stevens over 100.
All right, Pierce Dietrich, you are free to go. Jeff Ulrich, hang out. You and Steve are going to help us help us build some money-making lineups. Kyler Murray, is he worth paying up for? $6,900. Couple games under his belts this season and moving in the right direction.
You're watching DraftKings Network's Sunday pregame power-up.
Yes, you are. And as we kick off our second hour of this show, The Sweat, also the second of 5 hours on this pregame power-up block, just a heads up, 10 a.m. to high noon, it's the Lombardi line, then Brent Musburger's countdown to kickoff for the final hour. And it is damn good to have you back here on DraftKings Network and VSiN. We love the fact that you are here on this Week 12 NFL Sunday. Steve Buchanan, Jeff Ulrich in the house as well, at least virtually. Let's help the folks at home build some money-making lineups, shall we? And let's price check some salaries on DraftKings right now. And we'll start at the top.
Yeah.
We'll start at quarterback. We'll start under center. Little hut. Who are you going to pay up for today?
I thought you were like proposing.
It is your birthday.
Right, yeah, thank you. Yeah, we don't.
You got to prove yourself this last hour, buddy.
I think a lot of lineups are going to be paying up for quarterback on this slate, and rightfully so. We got Hurts, we got Mahomes, we got Allen, we got Stroud. Ooh. I like going way down the list here. This was part of my favorite bet of the week, but I think Baker Mayfield going up against the Colts is just a really good play here at 5,500. This is the most expensive he's been all season long. And this is not an expensive price point by any means, but you look at his fantasy performance over the last 5 games, 17.7 DraftKings fantasy points, and those weren't in easy matchups either. I talked about this earlier. Those 5 games that he's played, where he's averaged just under 18 DraftKings fantasy points, going up against the Niners, the Titans, the Texans, the Bills, and the Falcons. Now he's getting probably the softest matchup he's had over that span. Now Colts secondary is coming into this game pretty banged up here. Huge spot for Mike Evans and Trey Palmer on the outside. I think Baker Mayfield, 5,500, can easily return value on that salary today.
All right. Will Baker be baking, Jeff Ulrich?
Yeah, I actually think he might be. I kind of like Tampa Bay in that game, so I do not mind that call. But you know what? Like, I have to go even cheaper. I have to one-up Steve. I'm sorry, Steve. I know it's your birthday, but I'm one-upping you right now.
Yeah, baby.
Consider yourself one-upped because I'm going to 4,800 with Kenny Pickett.
Oh,
this price is, 4,800. We're under the 5K mark.
What?
That's when it's like alerts start going off, and you're like, ding dong, ding dong. This guy's like really cheap, and you can pair Kenny Pickett with George Pickens, who's also under $5,000. So you can get a sub $10,000 stack here with the Steelers. We talked about the Bengals in the last segment. They've given up the 3rd most explosive pass plays in the secondary. They're without their top cornerback here. We don't need this to be like an all-pro day from Kenny Pickett. We just need a couple touchdowns at like 250 yards. I think they probably get there today without Matt Canada holding them back and making everyone sad on the sidelines. So I think Kenny Pickett and George Pickens, really good stack. Kenny Pickett certainly at 4,800, someone I'd consider for a cheap value.
yeah.
Jeff, who's holding them back?
Matt Canada.
Are you doing that because
I will not pronounce his name. I know it's Matt Canada. I will not say Matt. I refuse to put my country's name in his last name.
I knew that had something to do with it. I knew it did. This is why
I wanted to clear it up. No, let's clear the air. Yeah.
That's why you're the pride of Edmonton. Well, here's hoping Matt Canada can fix Kenny Pickett because his last 4 games, 5.6 points, 10 points, 3 points. We're talking fantasy points here on DraftKings. All right, up next, from quarterback to running back. Who are you targeting in the backfield, Steven?
Yeah, I really like ETN in this matchup going up against the Houston Texans. We talked about this earlier in the show. Jacksonville has just been kind of killed by game script. More importantly, Travis Etienne here. Back-to-back weeks with blowouts. One of them was that loss there, 34-3 against the 49ers, and then that 34-14 win against the Titans. So it kind of scripts Etienne out of both of these games here. But now we basically have a coin flip in this matchup against the Titans, so he should be heavily showcase in these games. Like, this is somebody who, on a normal game, in a game where he's not scripted out, he's seeing like 14 to 17 carries per game. Gets a couple targets out of the backfield too as well. And because of the recent game bias that we've seen with ETN, he's probably an uncomfortable click, especially when he's the 3rd most expensive running back on this slate. Only Alvin Kamara and Saquon Barkley are more expensive this afternoon. So I think ETN at 7,100, I don't think the ownership is going to get too crazy in this game, despite this being one of the highest totals on on the slate, 48 points in this game, but give me Etienne at the running back position, especially, by the way, with Taylor right below him, and he's getting a lot of ownership for
Yeah, and also Etienne had one of his best performances of the season earlier this year against Houston. So he had 88 yards on the ground, another 50 through the air. Jeff Ulrich, how much money are you going to spend at running back here, dude?
Yeah, I really liked Rachaad White at 6,100. He is questionable. I don't think it's a big deal. I think he's probably going to be fine, to be honest. It sounds like just a late injury report that the Buccaneers were being, semi-cautious with. But let's just be cautious ourselves. If you don't like White and you don't like the questionable, just go down to Ramondre Stevenson at 5,800. Pierce actually mentioned this in the last segment, but Giants really don't have a good rush defense. Stevenson's efficiency in the run game has been going up here in the second half of the year. The carry, just the entire usage with him has gone up. He's a terrific receiver out of the backfield as well. I can't see the Patriots not scheming to keep Stevenson the focal point of their offense here. Realistically, when you look at the Patriots, Stevenson should probably be getting 30 touches a game because they have no receivers. And I mean, their quarterback can't throw the ball more than 10 yards. So I think Ramondre at 5,800 in a matchup where the Patriots are actually favored this week, really good chance here to go for over 100 all-purpose yards and a touchdown. So 5,800, he's looking like a real solid value.
By the way, going back to that Bucs-Colts game, Colts are allowing the fourth most fantasy points to running backs this season. So many big dogs at wide receiver, Jeff, have already played because of Turkey Day and Black Friday, so less to choose from in the wide receiver department. Who do you choose?
Look, and I went with a cheap value at quarterback. I went with a pretty solid value at Stevenson. We'll pay all the way up here. This is why you got to save money so that you can spend later, folks. Don't put the cart before the egg, or however it goes. We're gonna go Stephon Diggs at 8,800 here against the Philadelphia Eagles secondary. Big bounce back spot for Diggs. You look at Diggs, everyone's mad at him. Oh, 4.4 DraftKings points, 6.7 points. He busted my lineups, bros. But I mean, look, Denver, Patrick Surtain. I mean, New Jersey, or the New York Jets, New Jersey. What am I playing? Hockey here? The New York Jets, Sauce Gardner. I mean, come on, these are tough matchups. He's got the Eagles now. They're terrible against opposing wide receivers. So I think Diggs has a big bounce back game here. Again, big point total here. Marquee matchup. I think Stephon Diggs at 8,800 is the guy you want to pay up for on the slate. And again, you could pair him with Josh Allen, but if you go cheap a quarterback, a lot more room to fit in the big studs at wide receiver. And Diggs is definitely one I'd want to get into my lineup.
I mean, listen, the Eagles have allowed the most fantasy points to wide receivers through 11 weeks. But Steve, don't put the cart before the egg.
Yeah, that's. I think that's how that was
don't do it.
Supposed to go. Thank you for clarifying. Mike Evans, I sat here and I said I like Baker Mayfield, so I have to like one of his receivers as well. But Mike Evans at 7,400. Ownership projections looking like between 12 and 14% today, which is not a lot for Evans here in a really good spot. You look at his last 2 weeks, he has been absolutely on fire. 22 targets going in his direction, has caught half of those, 11, but for 186 yards and 2 touchdowns, giving him a grand total of 44.6 DraftKings fantasy points over that span. I mentioned earlier here that the Colts, they're having a lot of issues here with their cornerbacks. They have a couple rookies going in there, a couple backups playing here today. So I just think this is a massive spot for Mike Evans. If you want to go a little bit contrarian, Trey Palmer on the outside as well, I think could be someone you can go to. Really cheap wide receiver there too as well. Probably not a great matchup for Chris Godwin, so I'm not really looking his way, but I think Mike Evans here, going with that connection he's been having with Baker Mayfield, especially over the past 2 weeks. Love Evans here today.
All right, who do you love at tight end? This is a position you can usually go down the board a little bit. It's always top heavy with Travis Kelce there. I remember you and Josh mentioning David Njoku yesterday. I think it was more like in the props department. And looking at his numbers, he has at least 5 receptions, 54 yards, or a touchdown in 5 straight games here, Steve.
Yeah, I think Njoku's the guy here at 4,100 going up against the Denver Broncos, who have been the most generous defense to opposing tight ends in all of the league right now. They're allowing an average of 16.8 DraftKings fantasy points to the tight end position. That is by far the highest in the league. 72 receiving yards per game, 11.4 yards per reception to the position, and 5 total touchdowns. David Njoku was something even further than the security blanket for Dorian Thompson-Robinson last week. He had 15 targets last week. That is absolutely absurd. I'm not expecting 15 targets here, but when he's getting that peppered, and especially against this defense here, I don't think it's out of the realm to expect between 7 and 9 targets here for David Njoku at 4,100. And what's most surprising surprising too is that it doesn't really feel like the ownership is going to be there for him either. So if all that together at 4,100, this feels like an absolute blow-up spot here for David Njoku. 4,100 against the Denver Broncos. Give me that one.
Jeff, Pierce isn't here, so he's not going to recommend somebody who's like $500. Maybe you could carry the torch for him.
No, I'm not going to carry any torches this week. It doesn't feel like the right time. Steve mentioned Njoku. I think there's really like two tight ends you should really be honing in on. Njoku is one of them, but then a guy just a little bit above him, Trey McBride at 4,700 is the other. Both these guys are sub 5,000, so they're going to save you a bit of money, but they have the potential to just blow their salaries out of the water here. Marquise Brown, questionable. Michael Wilson, out. Arizona is now the underdog going up against the Rams, and I think Arizona will probably get beaten this game, which means more passing for Kyler Murray later in the game. So really good spot for Trey McBride. Again, going up against another defense. The Rams have allowed 5 touchdowns to opposing tight ends. They haven't covered well in the middle of the field at all. Maybe they're not quite as bad as Denver, but they're actually pretty close. It's a really good matchup, and realistically, the volume should be there for McBride. So I would say, like, if you have a little extra salary, try and get up to McBride. But I think those two guys, Njoku and McBride, are the sort of class of the field for the tight end position in DFS this week.
All right, Jeff Ulrich, appreciate all the help, man. All right,
you're welcome.
Careful.
Just don't put any chickens before the carts today, and that's all I ask. Okay.
What's wrong with this guy?
I have no idea, but his job here is more than done now.
Thank you.
Toodaloo, Jeff. Enjoy Canada. All right, coming up next, we'll dive into more of the games on today's slate, including draft season, baby. Why the Giants and Pats, they don't want to win this game, and you don't want to watch it.
No.
There is no one on this planet more excited for today's Patriots-Giants game than this man right here, Steve Buchanan. Thrilled, aren't you?
I mean,
You could feel the fire burning in your loins.
what? This is week 12?
Yeah.
Yes.
And
You know what? Belichick knew it was your birthday. He said, let's give Steve Mac Jones one more time for his B-Day.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so Mac Jones reportedly going to be the starter today, and Bailey's.
How can you go and be like that's so?
He's on a short leash. Bailey Zappi could get a
short
chance.
leash. How long's the leash? Like 2
It's
inches.
a short leash.
I can't even fathom that. Supposedly Mac Jones beat Bailey Zappi in the practice reps over the week. The bar is literally underground when it comes to these two. I can't even fathom that people are out here in a time where money is tough. You're going to use your hard-earned money to bet on this monstrosity of a game.
Listen,
I'm sure you got some stupid system for it too.
All right, well,
wait for it.
Well,
When you're ready, I'll tell you when you're ready.
This
Well,
guy
Josh,
is-
I
this
know
guy is
you being a
ridiculous.
Patriots guy, a New England guy, and stuff, depending on which system you're looking at here, and I'm just talking about the draft. It's why a lot of people here in New England will be watching this game, maybe hoping the Patriots lose. Anywho, the Pats lose today. Their chances of getting a top 2 selection in next spring's draft will rise to 38%. If they win, though, their chances of getting a top pick will drop to 9%. So that said, which side of this game are you backing right now on the DK Sportsbook?
I may surprise you a little bit, but maybe not in the way you're thinking, Emerson.
Because you said
So-
all of a sudden money's coming in on the Patriots here?
Yeah, it's unbelievable because to me, again, what have the Patriots shown you to get this late steam in their direction? Now, we got to remember, this game, at one point, you had a look-ahead line of Patriots -5. Then obviously the Patriots have tanked, so that look-ahead got adjusted to Patriots as low as, it got down to -3. But as we're waiting all week to see who the quarterback is going to be, and Belichick is playing this game, we need everyone to be ready, which I don't get how that helps you. Everything he does is quote-unquote, for the best of the team. But Emerson, wouldn't it be better if you knew who your QB would be, who got all the first-team reps for 2 weeks? I just think it's kind of a tough situation where Belichick doesn't like any of these QBs, and maybe Mac Jones is kind of the least of all the bad options here. But with all that being said, I have to respect the betting market. Now, do I agree with it? It doesn't matter. Steve, just wait here. I'll give you my play here. Now, we got to admit, the line is going to the Patriots. They're getting steam. There are wise guys here who like the Pats today. When we walked into the studio, they were -3, 3.5. Now they're up to 4, even 4.5. They're only getting 31% of bets. You do have a system match here. Road favorite off a bye, 64% ATS. So if the Patriots cover this number, we can't say, oh, we didn't see it coming. The line did go in their direction. But with that being said, guys, Mac Jones 6-17 against the spread, 26% last 2 seasons. If the Sharps beat me, I'll kick myself and say, why didn't I take the sharp move? But I'm taking the +4.5 with the G-Men. I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah.
2 of the lowest scoring teams in the NFL, when in the low total. Are the Patriots going to score enough to cover that number? Wise guys like them today, but for a very rare instance, Emerson, I'm going to go with the G-Men and go against the Sharps.
Okay, rookie quarterbacks, 8-24 all time against Belichick coach teams.
That doesn't matter anymore.
What do you mean it doesn't matter anymore? DeVito's a rookie quarterback, and he just threw 3 touchdowns last week.
Stop pulling these Brady-centric stats and tie them.
That's a Belichick-centric
and tie
stat.
them with this asinine Patriots team that is currently right now. I'm going to tell you a secret.
Crankiest
I'm
birthday
going
boy
to
on
give
the
you
planet.
something for this game. It's a secret, okay? So I'm going to talk into the mic real quietly.
Bring it in.
Raising the volume.
Come on over, brother.
Raising the volume, okay?
Little secret here.
Ready? Bet something else, you monsters. Do that instead. Do not bet anything on this game. I am telling you right now, we are here to promote betting and everything.
Yeah, okay.
I am telling you, bet something else. Find something else that makes you happy. Do not bet on this game. It is absolutely... I almost swore.
Yeah.
Maybe
PG program.
maybe Bills Eagles. Maybe Bills
Fine.
Eagles. What do you
That's a
got?
good game.
Much better game.
Come
That
on,
is a much
right?
better
That's
game.
sexy.
Boy, this is a tough game. I honestly feel like that this is a really tough game here. We have a -3 here in favor of the Eagles.
That dropped from 3.5 as we talked about earlier in the show.
Yep. This is only the second time this season that Buffalo has been an underdog. And when they were an underdog, they did not cover because Cincinnati won that game. That they weren't able to cover that +1.5 here. People want to celebrate and be like, oh, Buffalo is back. They just trumped, the Jets here. Everybody's been doing that to the Jets. So we still have this misconception that the Jets are this good defensive team when over the past 4 weeks, they're allowing 27 points per game. This is not a good defensive team anymore with the Jets. Everything's just going awry here. But I think I'm going to have to bet the Eagles in this spot here. I just think that they are the better overall team. And with this notion that the Bills are looking better because they did well against the Jets, not buying into that at all. I think the Eagles are overall the better overall team here. 6-2-2 against the spread this season. Buffalo's only 4-7 against the spread so far this year. They have not been a team that's been able to cover here. So give me the Eagles in this spot. That's a game you can bet.
Okay, I like that. Joshua, what direction do you want to take us in?
I'm going to go with the dog in this one, Emerson. I like the Bills in this spot. Again, we talked about this one, too high, too low in terms of your perception of the line. But I always try to, again, kind of stay true to the betting market here. The line is moving toward the Buffalo Bills. There's a big public play here to the Eagles. They're getting upwards of 70% of bets. Number one, you never get Josh Allen contrarian as a dog. It just never really happens. Now, as a favorite, he's not really covering numbers. But in this spot where kind of the pressure is off him, where he can kind of maybe surprise some people, that's a rare opportunity to take the points here. Josh Allen in his career as a dog is 16-8 against the spread, 67%. Again, has there been something unlocked, switching the offensive coordinators? Maybe, maybe not. But also, it's maybe as players, man, we cost this guy his job. Let's try to find a way to bounce back, almost that like fallen hero theory. But again, public is on Eagles, line's going to the Buffalo Bills, and I keep going to the thought process of you won a huge game, you got your revenge, you beat the Chiefs, primetime matchup. Is it a letdown? Again, Bills are never in this spot contrarian with the line move getting points. I'll take Buffalo. And then also, Emerson, I'm looking at Devonta Smith today, over 57.5 receiving yards. It's the highest juiced up over of any receiver in this game, minus 130 to the over. Again, A.J. Brown gets a lot of attention. Devonta Smith quietly has been cashing a lot of these over prop bets. I'll go over with Smith.
Well, the Chiefs are coming off that tough Monday night loss to the Eagles. They got to travel now on a short week, Steve. Raiders have looked so much better, like the past 3 games here. But this is a tough test against a wounded Super Bowl. Yeah, they're 2-1, I believe, since they got rid of Josh McDaniels.
I mean, one of the team's going to win when they play.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
I'm just telling you, the Raiders have looked much better against a wounded Super Bowl champion.
I will say they have looked better since post Josh McDaniels era, but like you were hyping up.
Point for
no. You were hyping them up a little too much.
Steve 0.
So this is going to sound like a strange bet, but I do have some reasoning. We're going to take the second half under in this game. This feels like something that Josh would be a fan of.
Tell me more.
So wait a minute. Does this have to do with the Chiefs scoring 0 points in the second half the last 3 games?
Well, let me tell you, this has been something that's been going on all season long. We have 2 of the worst scoring second half teams going in this game here today. The Chiefs are averaging, sit down for this, less than a touchdown. Well, we all are. Less than a touchdown in the second half. They're averaging 5.8 points per game in the second half. The Raiders are right there with them, averaging 6.8 points per game in the second half. I don't know what the issue is with the Chiefs when it comes to the second half, but they are just not scoring in that second half at all. And this was like a 1-game sample, 2-game sample. Okay, I'm not going to give into that noise. This has literally been going on the entire season here. So I'm going to take the second half under at at a second half under of 20.5 points here. It sounds like a strange bet to like really kind of pinpoint that, but the numbers have shown that both of these teams are just not scoring in the second half of these games. Give me the under in the second half of this game.
Okay, Josh, take us to Browns-Broncos right now. Are you seeing any kind of movement?
I am dog to fave movement at Emerson. That's what I like to see here. So I think if you like, we talked about this earlier, but the Steelers, if you like the Steelers dog to fave, you're going to like Denver in this spot as well. Now, obviously, Cleveland, you lose with Sean Watson for the season, but DTR stepped in. They're 7-3. They're playing very well. They have a really good defense here. But I think this is a spot here to back Denver because the betting market is moving toward Denver. Now, the public is relatively split. Obviously, they've seen Denver, turn this thing around. They're now at 500 under Sean Payton. But also, you look at Cleveland. How do you not take, a 1.5 with this team that's playing so well? But the betting market is moving toward Denver. We opened this game. A lot of books were as high as -3 on the road for Cleveland, 2.5. We got down to a pick'em. We've hopped the fence and now gone to Denver -1, 1.5. So this line is going toward the Denver Broncos, which tells me we got some smart money here on Denver. Now, the other important thing, Emerson, is it's a money line play for me. We've seen the Denver Broncos, and this happens quite a bit in the NFL. You'll talk to different bettors. They might give you a different opinion, but I money line short favorites. Perfect example last week, Denver Broncos beat the Vikings 21-20. They went for the 2-point conversion. They didn't get it. They won by 1 point. Why is that important? Because if you laid the points, you lost. If you went money line, you won. So also you're looking at a team who didn't cover versus a team who did cover. That's always a buy low, sell high. And you have the mile high advantage with the rarefied air. So I'm going money line here. I like this play to the Denver Broncos. I like how they're playing recently. And that dog to Vave line move tells me you got smart money on Denver today.
All right, Bukes. Rams coming off a big win against the Seahawks. They are banged up right now. Is your gut telling you to roll with the home underdog here in a divisional matchup?
Yeah, I'm going with the Cardinals here in this one here. I think this is just a completely different team with Kyler Murray under center here. In the 2 games that he's been back, they're averaging just under 21 points per game. They covered in both games that he started in, +2 against the Falcons, +5.5 against the Houston Texans. The Rams haven't covered in 4 straight games now. 3 of those games was a 3.5 point difference or less in those ones here. So I think the Cardinals, this is the sneaky spot for them there. I get that the offense has been a little bit shaky because of the injuries that they have here, but I think the Cardinals can go in this one here. Like them at +3 today.
Alrighty, my man. We got to poke over to some primetime picks.
Good game.
Coming up after this break. Lamar Jackson in action and what his head coach is praising entering this game. The narrative he's pushing. Welcome back to The Sweat, everybody. Let's get after some primetime picks, shall we? Looking at Sunday Night Football, Monday Night Football. Baltimore Ravens, don't look now or do, have had a wee bit of an issue taking care of the football this season, guys.
Yeah.
They've fumbled a total of 18 times this year, 10 of them coming from Lamar Jackson. So no surprise, Coach Harbaugh entering this game really focusing on ball security.
Well, I mean, the Chargers have a ton of fumbles recoveries. You know, they're leading the league basically in turnover margin. It's a big part of the game. I mean, that's something they do exceptionally well on both sides of the ball. Strip sacks being the main part of that. You're right; they're number one in the league at that. So we have emphasized that. We built our protections accordingly, and we've got to be very conscious of that.
Yeah, indeed they do. So right now, looking at props for this game, who or what are you targeting? Josh, you just winked at me.
Yeah, I got a couple for you. You're going because I thought you were going to go game, not line on me. We're going props though first.
Yeah,
I'm down. I got two.
No, we can go game. Let's go game.
Are you want to go game?
Let's go game.
Stop skipping the script. Let's go game.
I'll go game on you. I like
Sassy.
the dog in this one. Give me the Chargers. I would love to get the hook on this one. I don't know if you're going to get it. Maybe it creeps back up before game time. But this game opened Baltimore minus 3.5 on the road. We're down to 3. Now, that's really important to me. I lumped kind of the Chargers into that Buffalo Bills spot where they're contrarian, yet the line's going in their direction. So 3.5 down to 3, even though they're only getting 19% of bets. Guys, this is the most lopsided game of the day. It also happens to be the most heavily bet game of the night because it's your primetime game here. So 81% of bets on Ravens, yet this line is falling. Tells me you got some smart money on Herbert tonight. Justin Herbert as a dog in his career, 13-9 against the spread, 59%. Also, the total is interesting to me, Emerson, because it's moved up a ton, which tells me that if you're going to bet the over now, you're getting the worst of it. Does it create an opportunity to buy low and take the under? I think that's the angle here. It opened at 44-ish, 44.5. You're up to 48. Try to find the under 48.5 with the hook if you can get it. And how do you not go? How do you not play these primetime unders? They've been so good all year long. 27-9 to the under, 75% primetime game. So I'll take the point to the Chargers, and I do like this primetime under with an inflated line. It's not really sharp, but you're getting a better number off the opener. It just moves so much.
Yeah, Steve, depending on how close you expect this game to be, let's just keep in mind how bad the Chargers are one-score games under Brandon Staley here, too.
I mean, just how bad the Chargers are under Brandon Staley, period. Like, that's all you need to stay there. I mean, I look at this total, like, you know, odds makers are much smarter than I am. Everybody in this room.
No, whoa, even me?
Whoa, we're both
Thank
yeah,
you.
no.
Your birthday?
Oh, my God,
I'm talking about odds.
turning a corner.
What about Julian Edlow?
Little crank tank.
He's not in the room. But like I look at this total and I go, I don't know if are we going to get close to 50 points in this game? Like I'm taking the under on this one. I mean, these are two teams that have not been strong with the under at all. They're 8-13 combined to the over so far this season. Chargers are really good against the run too as well, so that could potentially take out one of the Ravens' favorite strong points in the offense here is running the ball. And then you have the Chargers who love to throw the ball. The Ravens have been good against the pass. Like we talk about elite defenses in the league. We talk about San Francisco. We talk about Dallas. Baltimore for me is right up there with when we're talking about elite defenses here. So I look at this total of 48.5 and I go, I don't even know if we're going to really get this close here. So I like the under in this one here. I think we're going to see running off from the Chargers side and then maybe some throwing from the Ravens side, which is not the strong points on both of these teams. So give me the under in this one here. And John, you mentioned the primetime unders have been hitting very well too as well.
I mean, good news for passing props, at least on the Ravens side, is Odell Beckham Jr. and Zay Flowers are expected to play tonight. So what do you like in terms of props?
OBJ over. I like this play to OBJ over. And
there he is.
One thing I like to do, Emerson, is before you look at the names of the players, just cover them up and look at the prices and the juice prices, because a lot of times you'll see minus 110, minus 115. That's kind of the standard. But every now and again you'll see a minus 125, minus 130. And I think a lot of the public says, ooh, that's too expensive, I don't want to play it. I go the other way. If it's juiced up, that tells me there's a reason it's juiced up, because maybe it's going to move or there's a lot of liability on that side. So I like these juiced up angles. OBJ is really juiced up, 39.5 over receiving yards, minus 120. He just had his best game of the year, Emerson. 4 catches, 116 yards. Again, coming back from his injury, joined a new team, starting to get really, kind of acclimated and familiar with the passing game with Lamar Jackson. By the way, Chargers have the worst pass defense in the NFL, so give me OBJ over 39.5. And this one is a fishy one that makes no sense, which I kind of like. Austin Eckler under 48.5 rushing yards. It's the most juiced up player prop in this game.
Disappointing year for him.
Under is minus 135, Emerson. Why it's kind of fishy is that his last 2 games he rushed for 67 and 64 yards. So you would think he'll easily go over 48.5 and get you 49 or more. But no, it's actually juiced up under. So why are they saying, hey, come take this plus money on the over? That to me, again, that you're kind of falling into a trap there. I'd go Eckler under just because it makes no sense.
And Beckham has really graded well since Andrews has gone down. After he got hurt, he saw almost 40% of first read targets from Lamar Jackson. Steve, what do you got for prop?
Well, maybe the book is goading me because I was taking a plus money on Eckler.
Sorry about that, Steve.
But
we should have talked before.
It's for his rushing attempts, which is at 12 and a half, and that one's at even money. Like, this feels like maybe a bit of an overreaction because he only took 10 last week. Because on the season, he's averaging 14 and a half carries per game. And what I just was talking about, why I like the under in this game, is because the Chargers are not going to be able to efficiently throw the ball against a very elite Ravens secondary. So what are you going to do then? You're going to try to slow this game down, start running the ball with Austin Eckler. So to get something, 2 carries under his average for the year at plus money, it's at even money here. I like this one here because I mentioned you're not going to get much through the air against Baltimore. You are going to be able to beat them on the ground. And even though that's kind of taking the Chargers out of their comfort zone because they're a pass-first team, I still think that this one has play here at over 12 and a half rushing attempts for somebody who's averaging just under 15 on the season.
All right, well, Vikings-Bears will bring us home here and put a bow on Week 12. That's Monday Night Football, everybody. Justin Jefferson, questionable. Some reports say unlikely to play. This is what he had to say as he makes his way back from a hamstring injury that's kept him out since Week 5.
Just has it been hard to stay patient throughout this process?
Oh, very. If I miss this one, it's going to be the 7th game. So it's definitely frustrating. It's tough to be patient and trying to make sure an injury heals properly. It's definitely not something that I want to do, but it just comes with the game. It comes with trying to be healthy, trying to be 100%, and just carrying the safe route.
Yeah, then there's this tweet, a stern tweet from Jefferson suggesting he's been getting direct messages from fans regarding his recovery. And then after he criticized the behavior of said fans, the Viking star receiver deleted his Twitter and Instagram accounts on Friday. Honestly, people who I know who have deleted their Twitter and Instagram accounts are much happier in life when they get rid of those cesspool apps. Anywho, Josh, talking game bet here. I know Jefferson doesn't care about our bets, our props, our fantasy teams, but we do. Give me a game bet.
Yeah, game bet is I'll take the points here with the road dog. By the way, I would sit Jefferson this game. You have a bye week coming up. Get him healthy. Yeah. You're in a good position. You're 6-5. You got winnable games down the stretch. Doesn't make any sense to bring him in early, re-aggravate it, and then maybe lose him for even more time here. But in terms of the game line here, Emerson, pretty sharp bet here toward the Chicago Bears. Currently, you're getting across the market around 71% of bets at DraftKings on Minnesota. Obviously, they've had a surprising season. You lose Cousins. You think this team's going down the drain. No, the Pasternak comes in, Emerson. They're playing pretty well. They're in a position here for a playoff spot. But the love for the Minnesota in a primetime game, despite that, you're seeing this line fall toward the Chicago Bears. This game, a lot of books was minus 3.5 for Minnesota. Now you're down to 3. And one thing that you kind of noticed in terms of betting percentages as well, only around 30% of bets, 75% of money. That's one of the biggest bet discrepancies, bet versus dollars. Anytime you're getting at least 10% more money than bets, that's an indication to me that the sharper wagers are in your favor. That's a 40% discrepancy. So a lot of love here for a divisional dog, primetime dog. And then I would also look toward maybe looking at another under opportunity here. It's hovered around 43.5, 44. Yeah, again, to me, these primetime unders either going to play it or you're going to bypass it. I just don't like going up directly against it.
Here's what's interesting. Under 4-1 for the Vikings at home this season, Steve. The over 4-2 for the Bears on the road.
Yeah, this is a tough game for me. I don't really love either side. If you can get a 2.5 on the Vikings, I probably would lean that way there. Minnesota has covered 6 games in a row now, but they've all been close games here. Chicago's only covered 4 games this season. 3 of those games, they've been a 6-point dog or higher. So this really doesn't kind of meet that criteria here. I'm going to be honest. I don't really love either side. I don't love the total of this game here. My lean here would be the Vikings, but this is definitely not a game I'm looking to play.
Quickly here, gentlemen. What about a prop in this Monday Night Football game, Steve?
I do like Hawkinson to go over 63.5 receiving yards. He's
Absolute
gone
monster.
over, 6 times already this season. Bears have allowed the 5th most receptions to the tight end position, about an average of 8 yards per reception here. In the 2 games where Dobbs has started, Hawkinson has seen 22 targets, 15 receptions, 189 yards. Give me over for him.
Applebaum.
DJ Moore, over 4.5 catches. It's juiced up -125. We've seen DJ Moore with Justin Fields. They just have a good connection here. They know where each other are at. They connect on a lot of passes here. Once Fields came back last week, you had 9 targets, 7 catches, 96 yards, a touchdown here for DJ Moore. DJ Moore has had 5 catches or more in 7 of 11 games this season. I think that continues. I'd go DJ Moore over 4.5 catches.
Yeah, I know Pierce liked his over. I think it was on his receiving yards earlier in the show. I don't know. That game could end up being mediocre. If it is, it's what Tom Brady basically expects now when he watches NFL Sundays. We'll dive into some leftovers coming up.
You're watching DraftKings Network's Sunday pregame power-up.
final block of the sweat, everybody. It has been great to have you here with us since 8 o'clock Eastern Time. The Lombardi line will follow us from 10 to noon. Then Brent Musburger's countdown to kickoff, all part of the pregame power up here on DraftKings Network and VSiN. Before we get to your guys' no sweat bets, we are coming off Turkey Day here, right? There's still some leftovers to crush. Do you guys still have leftovers in your fridge?
No.
We got a honey baked ham in Nashville, New Hampshire. Pro tip, get a honey baked ham. It's already cooked for you. It's absolutely delicious. Not a lot of work involved. I got a lot of leftovers honey baked ham.
I would be so happy with just having ham instead of turkey.
Me too. I asked my in-laws and said, hey, can I get a side of some ham for this turkey? They looked at me and said, that's a Christmas thing. I said, no, people. And this is strike 2 for you, Marcia. Anywho, few storylines we need to circle back to. Outside of we needing ham at Thanksgiving, Tom Brady said this week, guys, play in the NFL is mediocre. A lot to criticize the league for. I get that. What's the biggest issue with watchability in the NFL right now, Steve?
I mean, scoring is just way down.
Yeah.
Like, the average points per game is sitting at 21.7. That's the lowest in 5 years now. Field goals attempt per game is the highest it's been since 1973.
That's disgusting.
I wasn't even alive when that last happened.
Wow.
It took another 13 years.
Today's the anniversary of your birth, too.
You're right. You're right. So it was 13 years after. But like just the scoring is down. And then even like the margin of victory in the NFL is about 11 and a half points, where last year it was under double digits. So you're talking about a lot more closer games here. So, I mean, I'm with Brady here. I mean, how many weeks, like realistically, have you been watching stuff and you've been like, meh, like this is,
the product.
This ain't it. Yeah, this ain't it.
And like this is one of those Sunday slates. I think we were talking before the show.
Oh,
like,
this is gonna be
this isn't like the sexiest of slates.
No, brutal slate.
Here's an interesting one too. I saw Adam Schefter tweet this out. Bengals quarterback Jake Browning is going to become the 50th different quarterback to start a game this season, which shockingly is down from last year. Through 12 games last season, there were 53 different starting quarterbacks.
Oh, we still got a long time to go. Still got about 5 weeks left.
I mean, injuries have sucked, and we saw that really. Last Sunday was wild.
Yeah, that was.
So Brady may have a point, but I don't like the I'm no longer in the league and now the league stinks. Like to me, it's like oh, when I was there, it was so much better. Maybe that is true here. I think part of it is the CBA, the way that they changed kind of the structure of the league in terms of less padded practices, less practice time. Therefore, the offensive, defensive lineman, it takes a while to kind of get in a groove. Hitting is way less. So I think he has a point there. I would just say in terms of the quality of star quarterbacks, I think maybe there's a point to be made there. You have Mahomes, Burrow gets hurt, Jalen Hurts is great, but there's only a handful here. During Brady's time, you'd have Brady, Manning, Drew Brees. You had great quarterbacks here throughout the league. So I don't really mind that the league is down in terms of scoring. Obviously, for fantasy, they went so hard, the NFL did, in terms of rules to to garner toward more action, more production, to get kind of like your kind of novice fans to get interested in the NFL. But as an under better, you're loving the fact that these games are going much slower, and it does bring you back to football in terms of it's not just scoring. It's not just so heavy weighted towards scoring. It's the fundamentals. It's also different defense, special teams. So I don't mind it. I think it's becoming kind of coming back to the mean, regressing here a little bit in a positive way.
Well, Barry Sanders said to Brady's comment, maybe that's because your old team isn't playing well, but mine is.
Didn't play on Thanksgiving.
We'll see for how much longer. Then Thanksgiving happened.
Calm down, Barry.
Going back to the Pats, so yes, looks like Mac Jones is going to be starting.
Great.
Belichick has just been playing this game, this quarterback guessing game. He's had his team guessing. He refuses to tell the media or any of the fans anything. Is there a benefit to not naming a quarterback at all?
No, there really isn't, unless you're trying to lose, right? Because his receivers are bad enough as it is. Now you don't even know who you're going to be catching from. And this is important, too, for these guys because, when they're getting their first team reps in, they're getting timing down, they're getting, their whatever that quarterback does well down, whatever. You don't even know what that's going to be in a given game. And that, I think, is going to be the biggest problem here. So, and that's why it baffles me even more that the Patriots are, 4.5-point favorites now? Good God.
Unreal.
Just absolutely disgusting. If the Patriots win and cover, then whatever. I'll be happy to be wrong here. But, there's no shot that I'd be placing any type of money on Patriots minus 4.5 here.
Yeah, and Josh, the Jets have decided to name Tim Boyle their starter. They're going to give him another go-around this next time out. But going back to that Black Friday Sunday game, like one thing that we didn't hit on was right after that 99-yard pick six by the Dolphins before halftime, we came out of that with a Robert Saleh toothpaste commercial. Like, it just really seems like whatever can go wrong will go wrong for the Jets right now.
What's that old phrase? SOJ, same old Jets, Emerson? Yeah, that's kind of what we're seeing at this point. And again, they came in with high expectations. Kind of their season when Aaron Rodgers, tears his Achilles there in the first game of the year. You're like, hey, this is a throwaway season. Then they kind of, battle hard and they're in a playoff race. Now you're going back to the regression year. So, Emerson, are you ready for, what is it going to be? Tim Boyle against Desmond Ridder next week? Looking at the number, it's Atlanta -2.5 at the Jets, 1.5. So, again, this is a team with the Jets. I think you play their under adjusted win total here. And again, to Brady's point, the quality of these quarterbacks. I think you really have seen a drop-off here. And if you're going to invest in a team, you better have a good backup because of all these injuries. The total in that one, by the way, is 36.5, 35.5 Atlanta Jets next week. But I do love the Black Friday game, the standalone game. To me, give me another day of football. I'm not going to pass it up.
You like it, which I was yesterday years old when producer Drew told me about, like, the law Congress passed or whatever about, knock it off. Happy birthday to you.
You're finally
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Steve.
All right.
Happy birthday to you.
This actually looks exquisite. I'm not going to lie.
Yes.
This looks
All right. Okay.
excellent.
So, what was your wish?
What was my wish? That the show ends in 3 minutes and 50 seconds.
Okay, well, let's go into. Do we get to Steve Aoki you?
No, because this actually looks really good, and I want to actually have this.
Red velvet?
Red velvet is actually my favorite, so I don't know if that was on purpose.
Well,
but
yeah, you know
that
what?
works.
Some of us plan these things out. Very nice.
fantastic.
What about a wish of having your no sweat bet come true?
Yeah, that would be actually fantastic. Can we do that again? Can we relight that? But you know what?
That's illegal.
We don't need to wish because it's going to happen anyways. We talked about this earlier in the show. Tampa Bay Buccaneers +2.5. Look at that. Tampa Bay Buccaneers +2.5 here. Like I mentioned earlier, Bucs are 5-2 against the spread as the underdog. Colts are having some issues in their secondary, playing some of their backups in this game here. Baker Mayfield has been fantastic through the air last 5 weeks. I told you how good he's been, even in these tough matchups, going against the 49ers, Titans, Houston Texans, Bills, and the Falcons, averaging 260 passing yards, 8-3 touchdown to interception ratio. Minshew not playing well, giving the Bucs. I think you know what? It's not like a great term to use around, the wrong team's favored. I think the wrong team's favored. I really do.
Yeah.
I honestly do.
Any late movement right now? I mean, I say late. It's not even 10 o'clock Eastern time right now.
Perhaps
Have
people
you
aren't
seen
even
some
awake.
movement over the past 2 hours since we talked about this earlier?
A little bit of movement. You're going to like this, Emerson. Jags are back up to -1.5. Again, they were hovering around 1 when we walked in the door today.
They were 2 at one point this morning.
Yeah, they were. That thing's gone back and forth here. I think if you're going to play Houston, you're going to tease them up. That 1.5, get them up to 7.5. Steve, you can get a 3 probably now on Tampa Bay. They are up to 3 at a few different shops here. But for my no sweat bet, Emerson, Pittsburgh Steelers. I love the Steelers today in this spot. They're moved from dog to favorite. I know how Kenny Pickett has been so bad. His passing prop did fall like 200.5 to 195.5. But I'm going to bet against Jake Browning. This is a guy, 27-year-old rookie, doesn't have a lot of experience here. I think kind of also the locker room, losing Burrow, is that going to kind of go through the waves in the locker room and kind of say, hey, this just isn't our year? What kind of motivational aspect do you get now with Cincy kind of losing their star QB? Also, Pittsburgh, great spot to back them after a loss. Tomlin 54-39 against the spread, 58% after a loss, 3-0 ATS this year. Fired their OC. Do you see them start to play a little bit better offensively? And then also, Steve, because it's your birthday, I couldn't go a full show without mentioning the weather for you. So it is going to be a little bit rough in Cincinnati. Luckily, you're in a nice, warm Boston studio. You're not out at Cincinnati today. It's going to be rainy. It's going to be mid-40s. 9 to 10 mile per hour winds. Not the worst.
No.
But also,
don't lie.
Yeah,
I'm reading it right now. It says
drizzle. Well, that's a subjective term. Drizzle, rain.
Drizzle.
How about we say this? Precipitation. You could see that.
Oh, my God.
But it's going to be a little bit windy. Low scoring game under benefits to Steelers.
Drizzle.
Well, happy birthday to you.
Thanks.
You know?
What are you doing the rest of the day, man? You
stuff.
got to celebrate.
And also,
You're gonna hate watching
Hey,
Mac Jones.
hey.
That's what you're gonna do.
Happy early birthday to producer Drew, the producer of the show. His
nice.
birthday is on Tuesday.
Happy B-Day, Drew.
Howie, who's behind the scenes, his
B-Day,
birthday is
Howie.
on Friday.
He was
And
on
Billy's birthday's coming up in 3 weeks.
Yeah, Billy.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Stay tuned for more DraftKings Network Sunday pregame power-up.